presents Rex Reed and Dixie Whatley. At the movies.
If you ask me, and you haven't, I think this is a terrible idea. We're bound to bump into the Klingons. And they don't exactly like you.
Feelings mutual. Engine room.
What do you hear?
We'll need all the power you can muster, mister.
Don't you worry, Captain. We'll beat those Klingon devils, even if I have to get out and push.
I hope it won't come to them, Mr. Scott. All possible speed, Mr. Sewell.
What's the matter, Jim? I miss my old chair.
Well, maybe he feels more comfortable in a director's chair. That's William Shatner, who returns once again as Captain Kirk, and this time he also takes the helm as director for Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Now, we'll take a closer look at that film and the first 4 Star Trek movies on this special edition of At the Movies. And here's Dixie to tell you about the first one, Star Trek, the motion picture.
Well, when they first attempted to bring Star Trek to the big screen, they ended up creating a 2-hour episode of the TV series that left the audiences cold. The warmth that bound the characters together was sorely missing. Even the special effects couldn't revive this sterile first installment.
V-G-E-R. Feature. V-O-Y-A-G-E-R. Voyager. Voyager 6.
NASA. National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Jim. This was launched more than 300 years ago.
It was a clever idea, but not clever enough to impress the critics or really the public. But rather than give up, the filmmakers started over, digging through the TV series and writing a sequel to one of the original episodes. The result was Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Ricardo Montalban reprised his role as Khan and proved to be a challenging nemesis for Captain Kirk and his crew.
Fire. Send to Commander Reliance. Prepare to be boarded.
Aye, sir. Commander Reliance, this is Enterprise. Surrender and prepare to be boarded. Enterprise to Reliance. You are ordered to surrender your vessel. Response. But the most memorable scene in Star Trek II, a scene that outraged Trekkies as well as begged for another sequel, was the demise of Mr. Spock.
Don't grieve, Admiral. It's logical. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. I never took the Kobayashi Maru test. Until now.
shall be your friend. Live long and prosper.
But is Mr. Spock truly dead? When we return, we'll get the answer to that question from Star Trek III, The Search for Spock.
Hello, Mr. Scott. Calling it a night?
Yes, sir.
Turning in myself. Looking forward to breaking some of Enterprise's speed records tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Good night.
Level, please.
Transporter room.
Thank you.
Up your shaft.
Help me. You left me on Genesis. Why did you do that? Help me.
Right voice, wrong man. In Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, the crew resolves to find their shipmate against the orders of their superiors and return him to his home planet, where, with the help of a little Vulcan mysticism, Spock is restored to his old self. Almost.
My father says that you have been my friend. You came back for me. You would have done the same for me. Why would you do this?
Because the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many.
I have been, and ever shall be, your friend.
Yes. Yes, Spock.
Shit. Out of danger.
You saved the ship. You saved us all. Don't you remember?
Jim. Your name is Jim.
Yes.
Our crew, once again intact, prepares to return to Earth in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. And there they find that their planet has been threatened by a strange probe trying to communicate with a species of whale that's been extinct for 200 years. Now, this Star Trek relied heavily on the humor of dropping 23rd century space travelers back into 20th century San Francisco.
We're divided into teams. Commanders Uhura and Shaka are assigned the uranium front.
Yes, sir.
Dr. McCoy, you, Mr. Scott, and Commander Sulu will convert us to whale tank.
Oh, joy.
While Captain Spock and I attempt to trace these whale songs to their source.
I'll have bearing and distance for you, sir.
I want you all to be very careful. This is terra incognita. Many of their customs will doubtless take us by surprise.
It's a foregone conclusion. None of these people have ever seen an extraterrestrial before.
Successful as always in their task, they're left with one final obstacle, getting back to the 23rd century.
There'll be whales here.
We've done
Mr. Scott. How soon can we be ready for warp speed?
Full power now.
If you will, Mr. Sulu.
Aye. Warp speed.
Mr. Sulu, you have the file. I'm going to take our guest down and have a look at her whales. Well, Mr. Spock, have you accounted for the variable mass of whales in water in your time re-entry program?
Mr. Scott cannot give me exact figures, Admiral, so I will make a guess.
A guess? You, Spock? That's extraordinary.
Well, Spock guesses right, as usual. When we come back, Leonard Nimoy and other members of the cast will give us some insight into the popularity of Star Trek and its characters.
Fire the rockets!
You never cease to amaze me.
Nor I myself.
Wrong. What are we going to say?
How about Countdown Race?
Back up your troubles.
Are we leaving, Captain? It's a song title, Spock.
Moon over Rigel 7.
Row your boat.
Row your boat. I love row. Do you know row your boat?
That song did not come up in my research, Captain.
The lyrics are very simple. It's row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. The doctor and I will start it off, and then when we give you a signal, you jump in.
Well, I guess you know the Star Trek family is back together again for a fifth go-around the galaxy in that same starship, Enterprise. And here's a behind-the-scene look at Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, and the characters that have become beloved to audiences, well, some audiences, over the last 22 years.
Elements that attract Star Trek to so many people is because of the hopefulness in the stories.
Mr. Nimoy draws us together. All that time in space and getting on each other's nerves. And what do we do when Shirley comes home? We spend it together. Other people have families. Other people don't. It's not us.
These men are really their own family, so to speak. And I think that is a great discovery they make. That they are the family.
A marshmallow.
Well, I'll be there.
A marshmallow.
Where did you learn to do that?
Before leaving the ship, I consulted the computer library to familiarize myself with the customs associated with camping out.
So when you toast marshmallows together and sing row your boat together, you're a family, man. You know, that's what families do.
Down the stream, merrily, 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 life.
Come on, Spock. We'll be having a good time.
God, I liked him better before he died. I may have carried your soul, but I sure couldn't fill your shoes.
My shoes.
Forget it.
Three very different men, Dr. McCoy, Spock, and Captain Kirk, brought together to explore the universe, a relationship that continues to grow in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier.
People enjoy seeing these people solve problems together.
Bones?
You two go ahead. I'll wait for the next car.
We're not splitting up.
Fire the rocket! At the core of it is the people. And if we lose the people, we don't have the essence of Star Trek. That's what Star Trek is about. It's about this family of characters who use the technology to get in touch with human ideas.
And coming up next, we'll take a look at the new adventures of the crew of the Enterprise in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier.
It's a song, you green-blooded Balkan. You sing it. The words aren't important. What's important is that you have a good time singing it.
Oh, I am sorry, Doctor. We'll be having a good time.
I must preface this review by saying I am a major Star Trek fan. I have seen every episode of the original series, The Next Generation, and all the treks to the big screen. But if Star Trek The Final Frontier is indeed the final big screen effort, it's a rather dismal way to end it all. The Final Frontier is, of course, the search for ultimate knowledge, the search for Eden, which ends up looking like Scottsdale, Arizona, and the search for God. I guess George Burns wasn't enough, and this crew could have used Burns' gift for one-liners and for timing. One of the best parts of Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, was the rapid-fire repartee, especially between Spock and Kirk. Well, what exchanges there are this time often don't work, and it appears to be a lacking of both the writing and the directing. Another great Star Trek constant, the bad guy. Well, this time, even the bad guys aren't very bad. In fact, they sort of edge on dull.
I deeply regret this desperate act, but these are desperate times. I have no desire to harm these innocents, but do not put me to the test. I implore you to respond immediately.
What is it? You look like you've just seen a ghost. Perhaps I am, Captain.
Even the special effects were weak, when there were special effects. Must have had a tight budget. Drama is drawn from the same place as Westerns. Get into the fort before the bandits get you. This time, it's Klingons. The tractor beam doesn't work, and Sulu actually has to drive the shuttle in.
How often have you done this? Actually, it's my first attempt. He's good. Really.
Scotty, on my mark. Open bay door. Kirk to Scotty. Lower sheets. Lower sheets.
Trade bearing 105, Mark 2. Got his glasses, no doubt. This is the geriatric version of Lost in Space. Now, mind you, I revere all of these actors and the pleasure they have given me over the years, but the cast was in dire need of a transfusion of younger blood in addition to the old reliables. This is not Cocoon. We are tackling the trials and tribulations of space here. In past Star Trek movies, our original heroes are commanders and overseers. Well, this time they're maneuvered back into the crew chairs. Kind of a waste. And this Star Trek seems to be a futile reach into the past rather than a dynamic soaring into the future. There are even campfire scenes that are groaningly quaint. Now, I love Star Trek, but this final frontier, even though it is often entertaining, comes off as a lesser television episode rather than a big screen, big budget, last dynamic voyage. I was disappointed.
I don't even care about any of it as long as they really mean it. I hope it is the final voyage.
Are you a Trek fan?
I'm not a Trekkie, never was. I'm now too old to ever become one. But I'll tell you, even if I were a Trekkie, I don't think I could sit through this movie. The dialogue, so idiotic. Spock, it's me, Cyborg. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. Can you imagine the power breakfast? Well, let's bring back the Klingons. Well, they're not so bad. We'll call them static Klingons. Can you see William Shatner saying, Leonard Nimoy got to direct the last one. Let me direct this one.
I want to direct.
And can you hear the producer saying, well, they can't take too much more of this. I know it's summer, and even Trekkies will sit through anything, but we got to come up with something good. So Shatner says, let's find God. Of course, God turns out to be the Wizard of Oz.
You should have rewritten this one, Rex. It might have been a help here.
I think this is truly the dullest of them all.
Oh, it's so sad. There's no future Star Trek to be dull. There really isn't.
And special effects, if nothing else, you expect.
And there weren't many. And the ones that were,
well,
nah.
That's it for this special edition of At the Movies. With all due respect, I can only give that movie like 1 star. I'm Rex Reed.
Well, I'm a Trekkie. I'll give it 2. 2. I'm Dixie Whatley, and we'll see you at the movies.
Next week on At the Movies, Rex and Dixie take a look at Batman, starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. That's next week on At the Movies. Introducing new Morning Fresh Snuggle Fabric Softener. Now everything you wash can have the wonderful scent of a fresh new morning. Try Susie One dinners. They turn your hamburger, chicken, or beef into exciting dinners in just 10 minutes. Susie One dinners. Shout! Nothing cleans better than a squeeze of lemon power shout. Want tough stains out? Squeeze lemon power shout.
Brought to you by Benadryl Cream and Benadryl Spray from Park Davis for fast, effective relief from the distracting itch of insect bites and allergic rashes.